Let's talk about perceptual process and especially those visual perception. Visual perception is since it's a visual perception, it's the items we can see. However, visual learning is I see more than 80%. It's a very great part, human learning is really related to visual learning. So conscious eyes and real eyesight are very important. And then we have these different scales of learning hierarchies. It's based on the cognitive levels. So we learned about, sensory level visual discrimination, very simple sensory level perception. So we see it and then we know it. So those toddlers, 3 years older, so without seeing details, when they see this it's a cup, they can say it. When they see this a pen, or they may say pencil, even though it's a pen, if they're, knowledge has only pencil there, and then they say pen. If they have a marker, and they may say marker because it's a long and string, and then they seems like it's a writing utensil. So any kind of this kind of a notebook they see, and then they say it's a notebook, it's a smaller, not regular size. However, they don't go detailed data yet. You see it, you name it. So that's a sensory level, perceptions, and they see more like a global figures, global, perception they make, and then they say that's a, sensory level. Next one is a visual attention. So we have a sensory level perceptions, we have a visual attention, and then visual perception, and then advanced visual perception. It is I'm not sure, these terms are really, cognitive psychology use, but I make these 4 categories. It's my interpretation. So easily I could teach my, students and my pre-service teachers or just teachers. So it's easily we can understand, because these are all comprehension. Children's comprehension and how we approach and teach children these skills. And then we can say if children do not learn, and then we know where they stopped and stuck there. Okay, so sensory level is a very young age, before age 3 or 4, they just, that's how they perceive the item, and then they discriminate, and then they name it. And then next one is a visual attention. Visual attention is more like a conscious perception still, but it sees the features, it components. So what, cups, and then they say just see the, these handles and made of glass, and they see it goes, so that's a visual perception, visual attention. So they see details, and then they see correctly. So it's a visual accuracy, and then focus, visual focus. So it's like eye contact focus, so they can see more in details, and then they could follow, those, patterns tracking. So it's like children see just like, something move, you just follow, and then their eyes can follow, and then they can trace if they just do visual tracking. And that's a basic, visual attention. And then visual discrimination based on the, as I said before, it's like, based on the data, they see discriminate, they can discriminate. It's the same banana, but 3 different, types of banana by the shape. So it's like one is a small, one is long and more clear yellow, and the other one is a little bit just looks like some scratches there and fattier, but that looks like peels are very thick. So that's different types of our eyes can figure out those details. So that's a visual perception. So visual attention, sorry. So visual attention is let us see before, when children, that sensory level visual level, discrimination, they see it's a bike. it's a, you know, car, it's a window, it's a house. So they could say that, but they, so what house has, and they could not name it. So what the bike has, and they cannot name it. So, but now it's a visual attention. They say bike has wheels, bike has handles, bike has a seat, and car has wheels. And then you say, how many wheels? They may not answer how many. It has many wheels. They could say that. And then they windows and house, and then they say, oh, house has windows, house has roof, house has a chimney. It goes by their vocabulary level too. So that much, you know, that visual attention, it sees a little bit of more details. Okay, so it's just like a similar, like, you know, I say sensory level visual perception, visual discrimination, I say it's a 1D dimension, and then visual attention is like a 2D, and then visual next level is a visual perception, I say 3D perception. So it says like a 1D perception, 2D perception, and the visual perception is a 3D perception, because it goes like a really like a 3D because it has a figure against the ground. So you see the meaningful items against while filtering out all those background. So when you search something in the refrigerator, you could either busy, crowded refrigerator, very messy and unorganized, still you pick out the items you need while filtering out all other items, right? That's a figure ground. And then spatial relation, that's a visual spatial. So when you have in the shelf, it's like a refrigerator, it's the same. In the room, it's a 3D room, right? So but you, when you search something and you spot the items you want, you just look for the eraser, look for, you know, glasses, look for, you know, small, you know, markers, and then you can see that that's, you know, spatial relationships you could see. And then visual form constancy, that means it's the same item, is all pen, is a pen. So even though the pen is in black, pen is white, pen is, you know, green, still it's a pen. So words, it's the same. Letter, it's like, you know, individual sounds, and words, italics, or just Arial font, Time Roman font, you know, still it's a different big font and small font. It's all same items. So different shapes and different colors and different forms, patterns are still same item, is the same item. That's a, you know, visual form constancy. And then visual closure is like a real 3D ones, and then you saw the, you know, only partial, and you already have a visual images, so you could tell exact shapes, you could see it invisible part, you can complete those parts. So visually incomplete shapes, you could see the complete shapes, and then you could tell what that is. You know, easy example is like, you know, when you see the table, and then the table has 4 corners, that means it has 4 legs, right? However, when you see it, you only could see only 2 legs or 3 legs, and still you know there is 1 more leg, even though you cannot see it. And then still you ask the child how many this table has, and the child says 4, you know, legs. If the child, this visual perception level is, you know, visual attention level, and then how many legs this table has, and then child only can count, only will count what they can see, and then they say 2 legs and 3 legs. So they don't see the, you know, the other one there. So these are visual closure in 3D level, you know, views and perceptions. And then, you know, visual memory and visual sequential memory is the same thing. You visually see it, and then you know what that is. So you could remember So, you know, when we say banana, and then you could explain about the banana, you can explain or draw. When you say school, and then you know basic, school component and features, and then you can explain. So visual memory, visual sequential memory is a very important visual perception for children's literacy learning. Early literacy learning, because there's also sound, and then they remember that they see the and then they say they just say, or just alphabet name, and then numbers, and then sequential means is also MAN, together it's a man, so they remember M, and then next one is A, next one is N. So visual sequential memory, help them to remember these sequence. Okay, so visual memory, visual sequential memory, without that, and then we cannot remember. It's no memory means no learning. Every time you have to, it's a new learning. Like, if a child has a visual attention, there is no way you can teach them phonics skills, any reading skills and literacy skills and numeracy skills. So, because the child could not visually, see those, exact lines and curves and patterns, and it's great difficulties that they will have. So these visual perceptions impact just almost 90% of children's school learning and academic learning. And then last one is advanced visual perception. It's a very, this is, I named it advanced visual perception. I'm not sure, psychology may call it the same or not. So far, we see we focus on factual information, factual data. And this advanced visual perception, it goes by, now is a function of the visual information. So function that means it's a meaning. So I call this a 4-dimensional perception. It lets children do categorization or classification. So you understand the function, object function, and then you understand the object properties, attributes and properties made of what? It really make this object have relationships. So it's like this is a pen, and then child has this one, and then these two are pens, let's say different color. These are pen, and then these are pen. So visual features are different. Colors are different, shapes are different, right? However, because of these tips, it's a pen, not pencil. It's not erasable. So we talk about the function, and these functions are for writing. So these are in the same category, and these are writing utensils. And then you have, third one, these are mechanical pencil. However, pencil, and then in the beginning, child may say by the visual information, visual data, they may say pen, because they never seen this, and then this is a pen. Again, as I said before, it is about the visual information and then categorization, right? So, and then you ask the child to use it, and then child scratch and just make some lines and shapes, and then you give the child the eraser, and then just erase it, and then you have the child use the pen and then draw, and then you give just eraser. So erase both, and then one is erasable, the other one is not erasable. And then child says, and then child accommodation, they have to do accommodation. It's more than a simulation level, right? So they say, this is a pencil, but we don't say it's a pencil, it's a mechanical pencil. And then all different types of mechanical pencil, and then most of a mechanical pencil has a small eraser on the top, and then that's the visual data, right? So that's how we expand, classification and categorization. Eventually, we're gonna have a knowledge structure of pattern categories. So it's a different categories we have. That's knowledge and structures. So these advanced visual perception make children these functions and then properties attribution together, and then they can name those together. It is very important part in this level, and then they can understand the logical relation of attribution. And that attribution is, let me see, I try to see the different one to give you more explanations. So if then means if you understand those functions and those properties, and then you can guess, you can hypothesize, right? You can predict. So with the, let's say, if any writing utensils have an eraser, then it is a pencil. So it is a erasable item, it's a pencil, and even though it's a mechanical pencil or just a regular pencil. So that's a logical prediction you can do. If anything has a long and yellow, and then you can just with the fingers you can peel it, and then it's a banana. So that's you understand the function, and then you understand the properties, and then you can guess and you can just predict what that is. So that's if then logical relations, and it is very important, especially children's understanding. And then you ask just you just somebody work at school, and they just work with the children, and then who are they? And then they say teachers. So they can see those what school does, and then you go to school, and then who work with the children, and then it's a teacher, right? It has a screen, it has a keyboard, it has a mouse. So what is it? And then if it has a keyboard, it has a screen, and then what is it? And then children say it's a computer. So they know functions, they know properties, and then they could do this if then. Next one is a functional relations. So they know these function, you understand the function, and then they know what the relations between. So they know, table is for meal or work, right? Bed is for sleep, and chair is for sitting, and then keyboard is for typing. They understand those functions, and then they can relate those functions together, and then later they can classification and categorization. So vehicle, so bike and car are very far and different one, right? You cannot imagine what is. However, when you have like an apple picture, and then bike picture, and let's say some book picture, and then water cup picture, and then you ask the child again, I forgot what I said, it's like a apple, and then bike, and then book, and then what was the last one? Water cup. 4 pictures you arranged, and then you ask the child, give me a car. And then child look at the picture, there is no car. And then child may hesitantly pick a bike and then give it to you. Because that is a classification. Because the child understands what car means, car functions. So car function is riding, right? So you ride a bike, so child could connect those functions directly, and then child can give you. And then you ask the child, give me a banana, and then child will pick apple, not bike, not book, not cup. And then you ask the child, give me a ball, and then child will pick cup. So that's how we test the child if they have a concept of a classification in their brain. easily we can test that way, and then can tell if a child just randomly pick any item, and that means they still in their brain knowledge structure still don't have those classification. And then those relevant properties, attributes, so it's a classification, so they just could see, and let's say they have a lot of pictures, and then banana, peach, dresser, chicken, soccer balls, and pencils and bags, and so they have a lot of pictures on the desk, and then you say, okay, only eating items, and then they will pick out all eating items, and then you go to the subcategory fruits, and then they only pick out fruits, right? Those are all classification. So they know the properties, they know the functions, and then they know, which items go together. Okay, so that's 3 items we talked, and then this is how children develop their comprehension. And classification is very important. It naturally, it's not, you don't, when you teach, you don't say this is clothing items, this is, stationary item. We don't say that, but automatically they understand the functions, they understand the properties, they understand this if-then logical relations, and then they can automatically categorize and classify those similar items based on the functions and based on the those visual data and like that. Okay.